I worked as a flight attendant for a few years when I decided to take an extended sabbatical from college. There were a handful of L&M situations I encountered, but one in particular still makes my skin crawl more than any other. I was born and raised in Texas, but had moved to New York when I was 21. So when I found out at the beginning of a week-long trip that I'd have a couple of overnights in Austin, I was super excited to go to my home state for a few days. My brother lived just north of the city, and we planned to hang out and go to dinner the night I arrived when he got off work, and the following day we were going to meet up with our dad, who lived about an hour away. So I get to the hotel downtown, the crew and I check in, and then we head off to our own rooms. Short elevator ride to mine, and not even 5 minutes later, there's a loud, hard knock on the door. It was only around 1 or 2 p.m., and I hadn't called either my dad or brother to let them know I was in town yet, so they wouldn't know what room I was in. I assumed it was maybe one of my crewmates, so I headed to the door. Before even making it to the door, however, a loud male voice on the other side boomed, "The front desk sent me about the bathroom problem you called in," before trying to open the door. "Unlock the door and open up, miss. I need in, now." I froze in my tracks. I hadn't even been in the bathroom yet, let alone called anything to the front desk. I'm a petite woman, and while I take no crap from anyone despite my size, I'm still cautious about situations like this. Slowly inching toward the door to look out the peephole, all I could tell was that the man on the other side was at least 6 feet tall and was easily over double my weight. There was no way in hell I was going to unlock the door for him. I responded to the guy, telling him he must have the wrong room. He continued pounding on the door while constantly turning the handle, telling me no, he needed in, and was getting in the room one way or another. I panicked, but thankfully had the sense to grab the phone and call the front desk. The concierge confirmed that they had neither sent anyone up to my room, nor had they received a call about the bathroom. The entire time, this guy was still determined to get in my room, pounding and yelling. Lucky for me, the front desk had dispatched security to my floor. When the security officers step off the elevator a few seconds later, I can hear them in the hall approach and ask the guy who he was, what he was doing, and telling him he needed to leave the hotel. He immediately gets hostile and aggressive toward them, and the front desk clerk I'm still on the phone with tells me the police have been called and are on their way. In the meantime, I'm trapped in my room, scared to death. Long story short, the cops show up pretty quickly and manage to arrest the guy for trespassing and criminal menacing or something like that. I later found out that the guy was also wanted in connection to a string of break-ins and violent sexual assaults in Austin. He had seen and stalked me from the minute I entered the hotel lobby. Apparently, I was exactly his type of victim. Nothing else happened after that, but it still rattled the heck out of me for the rest of my stay in that hotel.
Years ago, I was on a cross-country trip solo to a family reunion. I was supposed to make it to a friend's house, but there was horrible weather, it was slow-moving, and a terrible accident happened just ahead of me, and I was stuck for quite a while. I was 5 hours behind schedule. I was exhausted, in need of a bathroom and a shower, so I pulled into a little strip motel off a fairly backroad state road. It was obviously small and dirty, but would work in a pinch. There was a window to the outside where check-in was. The guy there eyed me up, then a college-aged girl, and asked me if I was traveling alone. I went to hand him my ID and credit card, but he insisted cash only. Red flags were going off at this point, but I scrounged together just enough cash and he tossed me the key. The room was dirty, barely bigger than the bed. The first thing I did was go to the bathroom, then I flipped up the mattress. Dirty, signs of bed bugs. A moment later, I spied a cockroach. That was it, I was out. I decided I would use the parking space at least and sleep in the back trunk hatch of my SUV. I curled up, using a suitcase for a pillow and random clothes for a blanket, and fell asleep for an hour. I woke up aware of someone talking on a phone outside, then glanced out to see the guy from check-in standing outside. It was now around 3 a.m. He finished up his call, then walked quietly over to my room, unlocked the door, and walked inside. The lights didn't turn on, and a minute or two later he came back out, slamming the door behind him and cursing, with another guy. I hadn't seen Guy 2 enter, so I still don't know where he came from. They angrily talked for a moment, then checking Guy walked over to my SUV. I covered up my head quickly with a shirt. After he tried the locked door, he peered in the back seat, but between my tinted windows and blending into the general mess, he didn't notice me in the hatch. The two guys walked away to the far side of the lot, talking more, the one gesturing across the street where a diner was. While they were distracted, I climbed up to the front seat and started up the SUV. They turned around in surprise as I pulled away. I called my friends back home and told them, but didn't want to worry my family, so I said nothing to them. When I got back home some 3 weeks later, we figured out the name of the hotel thanks to Google Maps and called the local police. They told me the place had closed down only days before I called.
I was on a date in Camden with a girl who, from photos, I wasn't overly excited about, but in the flesh made my eyebrows shoot off my head. She was really pretty, smart, and funny too. We had quite a few cocktails in, I think was the Blues Kitchen, before going to a gay bar in Camden, which has since closed down. It was called the Black Cap. The date was going well, and we met a couple of guys who joined our table. One of the guys tells me at the bar that my date said she wanted me to kiss her. I did, and it turned out the guy was just helping us out by moving things along. My date was really shocked and told me I was bold, but she liked it. She came back to my hotel room with me, which was a 10-minute walk away. The room was kind of small, but cool and space-age style. We were both drunk and made out a lot. Then, she started crying about problems she was having with a friend who was really sick, and that her job was really stressful. Full-on sobbing, actually. She left in embarrassment, even though I was worried about her leaving like that, but she said she would be okay. As she left, I saw a large man in a black, thick leather jacket in the corridor. He was staring at my date as she left, and then stared at me as I closed the door. I was pretty wasted, so after checking my date got on a bus, I had a nap, and was woken up by banging on the door. I ignored it, but then it kept going, so I got up and staggered to the door, and opened it a crack. I recognized the leather elbow and arm as the door was shoved open violently. I was drunk, and the jolt of the door caused me to fall over. Luckily, the room entrance was small and around the width of the door, so my back was against the wall by the door while my feet touched the other wall. My body kept the door closed as this man kept shoving against the door. I managed to get it closed again, locked it, and went to sleep as I was still drunk. When I woke up in the morning, I thought I had dreamt the whole thing, but when I looked down at the side of my ribs, hips, and thigh, I had dark bruises. I was really lucky, and I am so glad that that room was tight on space because if it hadn't been, that guy could have easily gotten in.